the face I make when I know I've been defeated by robots again. Mother effing robots. When do my personal stars align so that I can defeat technology or at least use it the way I mean to? Oh, when I turn 50. That might be when it works. Once this is all obsolete, I'll figure it out. That's when it works. Hi everyone, welcome to Karma Cards for the week of January 22nd through the new moon coming up here on Friday, January 24th. And I thought this would be one. I wanted to do this earlier this week, but I've been under the weather. My littles were sick and then I caught it, so now I'm all better and I'm raring to go. But the robots did defeat me tonight and I'm feeling a little bitter about that, so I'm gonna shake it off, walking that one off. Just for fun, I am trying to learn how to simulcast, and I'm a DIY tech person, so that means I fail a lot, and I failed tonight too. So I keep uploading videos and coming on, and I think people see me and they're like, hey, and then I disappear. That's what's been happening. So I decided to say, F it, robots, you won tonight, I'll be back. And my husband is now in this with me, so now he feels just as frustrated as I do. Hi, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Hi, Caitlin. Good to see you. All right. Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me this time. So I want to do karma cards with you, give you an idea of what's going on in the sky, what's happening right now, and just kind of check in with you. And the first question I have for those who are watching with me live and those who watch the recording is this. Are you noticing that the month of January, feels like at least 3 months long? Anybody else? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling that. Both my husband and I today, we're like, damn, it's still January? It's still January. Hey, Shayma, good to see you. I don't know why, last month we went on a family trip and both of us were like, it feels like that was a year ago. Time is moving in wacky, weird ways. And I cannot wait to talk about that more on my upcoming podcast episode, which I've been working on about quantum leaping. I want to go deeper into that subject, but just time has changed the rules on us, and we're now in 3 months of January, and nothing's working right. Yeah, especially tech. Kaylin, I keep panicking. I see the date. Relax a little, right? I feel the same way. There's something supposed to happen. And then I go and check the date. I'm like, wow, we're still in January and I'm good. It's all good. So if you're feeling that, then just know that that's the general feeling everyone's having. Also, we just switched over from Capricorn season into Aquarius season. So the sun, meaning the sun is in Aquarius right now. But here's an interesting fact. We still have a lot of Capricorn energy. And in fact, today's moon, where the moon's at right now, is in the sign of Capricorn. So we're still feeling all that Capricorn energy. You might notice that maybe you're doing a lot of responsibility-based adulting work, like getting your books in order or getting bills up to date, just getting the house deeper cleaned, all these getting caught up on schoolwork, or something is happening where you're really kind of putting a lot of that attention and energy. And you'll notice right now we're still in that emotional space of, when I take care of something I feel better, or when I'm addressing my responsibilities or facing something head on with kind of a level of responsibility and maturity, I'm feeling better about that. So that's one of the things going on. And in 2 days, the moon will transition into a new moon in Aquarius. So then we'll have the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Aquarius, but still be grounded by a lot of this Capricorn energy. And what's kind of cool about what's coming up is, Aquarius is connected to Uranus, and Uranus is all about change, expansion, new vision, lots of new things happening. I have a couple people around me who are experiencing surprise, new things popping into their life. Maybe you see it coming, maybe you don't. We have been in the age of Aquarius. Yeah, well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. So, ages, they go on for like, I think it's like at least 25,000 years, if not longer. And densities, you hear me talking about densities all the time. A density is the rate at which consciousness vibrates. So we have moved into fourth density, and we're like, somewhere between 4 and 5 now. And those densities have their own sub octaves. So I like to think about it like this. We're in 4.1, there's 4.2, I think it goes all the way up to 8, and these can take a couple thousand years of their own to fully develop. And that's just kind of like how things are shifting. So when we're looking at these frequencies of energy that are coming in, another thing I'd like to point out, I think you know by now, but just in case you're like, oh, is it going to stop anytime soon? The energy just keeps picking up. And I just mean like the intensity of which you're feeling things, the intensity of which the subconscious is releasing information, the intensity in which you're feeling your personal growth or development happening. We're feeling this quite intensely. And I know that every once in a while someone says to me, when's that going to stop? And the answer is it's not. It's not going to stop. That's like moving up in frequency. So what it kind of feels like is like we move up in frequency. And I think that we remember that easier tone or that easier frequency. And we keep going, okay, when does it go back to that? And it doesn't. What it does is it sort of goes up and then levels out. So you sort of get used to this level of intensity, and that's called stepping up the energy. And that's what we're in right now. We are definitely in a time where the energy intensifies and then it like evens out. So you can kind of get used to this frequency, and then it steps up again and evens out. So why do I mention that? I'm mentioning that just so that you can sort of, I think if you can let go of when do we go back to normal, just let that go. If you can. It's going to bring way more peace. Hey, good to see you here. Shantima, good to see you. It's going to bring you way more peace if you can let go of what was. And isn't that like sort of a big overall message when it comes to spiritual growth and kind of the time period we're in, is let go of what was. And as we're moving deeper into Aquarius energy, that's going to be easier. It's easier to let go of what was. Exactly. There's no new normal either. Like, just like Caitlin's pointing out, that's a really good point. There is not a new normal, because again, energy steps up. I don't know if you guys can you hear that? That's my cat Pants snoring next to the computer. So the energy steps up and then evens out, but then it steps up again. So there is no new normal. We're not on a flat terrain anymore. Hey Gina, good to see you. We're on a staircase. And I don't know how long these plateaus last, but there's a lot of energetic events that unfold, and we get to experience that heightened burst of energy. The heightened burst of energy, what it tends to do, right, is it unlocks and it frees up energy in the body and in the mind. And especially, this is definitely an energy of the mind. When we're in air signs, like we are moving into Aquarius, that's higher mind and that's cosmic mind. So that's why it's so much easier to accept this information, that there is no new normal or even a normal anymore. There is like a staircase. And if you can see it like that, it's kind of takes pressure off of yourself that you're just not getting it. Give me a thumbs up if you get that feeling. Like, I'm just not getting this. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at being in this new place. That's not you, babes. That's not you. That's the time we're in. There is no foothold anymore, because we are going through a progressive ascension. Ascension is like a staircase in energy. So what you got to do is give yourself a break. This is not you not being able to handle this. This is called the roller coaster. Like, we're on that roller coaster right now. The ride is about to get more exciting and incredible, but intense at the same time. And how do you hold ground in that? One of the really strong messages that's been coming through at this time is you really need to rethink your understanding of the word security. Rethink that. I'm not saying do away with the idea of security. Rethink what that is. I'm going to let you have a second to absorb that. Rethink your idea of security. A lot of times we put the onus of security on something external, like this house gives me a sense of shelter and that makes me feel secure, or the money in my bank account makes me feel like I'll be safe and that makes me secure, or being in a relationship, or having my parent around, or this person around that makes me feel secure. All of that, they're saying that's not what security is. And we've been programmed to sort of look at security that way. But it's not it's an inverted idea of security. Security is a feeling. Security is a feeling. And where do feelings live? 5 points. 5 points to Gryffindor. If you can tell me where feelings live. I mean, you guys know. It's inside. And the funny thing is that we put a lot of pressure and responsibility on things outside of us to give us that feeling. And nobody and nothing can, because there are people, right, who have millions and millions and millions of dollars who feel insecure, and they do not feel like they have enough. And it sounds insane, but it's true. They're like, in the next, when I get the next 100 million, then I'll feel secure. That feeling ain't coming, because they're putting it on something external and they're not dealing with the fact that they don't feel it inside. Same with a relationship. They could be in a relationship with someone who's telling them that they love them and care about them and want to give them that feeling. And if the person does not feel secure on the inside, just a sense of security, that person cannot give them anything. It can't happen. It's just like, it's not coming in, because it's not something that can be given to you. It's a feeling state. Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that this information does is we kind of look at that as we're like, where first of all, what am I endowing with giving me a sense of security? That's the first question to ask yourself. What do I believe gives me security? Right? Is it having something? Is it being with somebody or some people? Right? Is it a job? Or just look at where you're giving yourself the idea that this gives me security. Right? Anything that can be taken away from you can't actually give you security. That's an interesting point. If it can be removed from you, it can't actually give you security. So here's the answer, or here's a answer that keeps coming through to me, is you need to find that internal sense of security. And what is that? That's my question, right? Like, what? Okay, fine. I will find that internal sense of security. What is that? And if you go to YouTube, I posted a quick meditation last week where I was talking about how to find the beauty through the BS. And what that does is there's really, what you can feel secure about is that your heart is still beating right now. If you can feel your heartbeat, that's a sense of security, right? And the fact that the body heals itself, the fact that you are connected to something bigger, and that your body is a fractile that is reflecting back this bigger system. Meaning, like, if you can observe your body and what it does without you even trying to compel it to do something. You can't compel your heart to beat. It is beating. Or the lungs to breathe. They are breathing. Or the body to heal itself. If you get wounded, body immediately starts healing. You don't have to compel it to do that. If you can see that about your body, what you can do is understand that if the body is a mirror, a smaller piece of a larger system, and each piece reflects the entire system, then you can see how that system is always taking care of you. You're enfolded into a system that is designed to take care of you. Now, this is a very esoteric thought, and it's different than what we're told to believe where security comes from. But it is a feeling that when you connect into it, you can see how you're always taken care of. You're never alone. Love is ever present. And something is looking out for your highest good. And that's one way in. I'm not going to pretend like I get it completely myself. It's something that I am really, I'm spending time with contemplating the idea of security, because I get triggered just like everybody else. Like, when does this get easier? When do I feel okay? When do I, what can I trust? If I can't trust that this is going to be around, what can I trust? Right? So these are the things that I go back to when I start feeling triggered by that, like this is all too much, the energy of it. And I have those days too. I would be lying if I said like, oh no, this is totally cool. No, I have days where I'm like a hot panicky mess, just like everybody else at this time, because there's so much coming up. There is so much inside of us that's coming to the surface to be observed and healed, so that we can keep transcending up this energetic staircase. So think about it like this. A lot of what's happening to all of us right now is we're in a time where it's like we have these heavy bags, like suitcases with us, and we're going up this staircase. And every step we have to go up, the suitcases get heavier, and we need to unload that baggage. And that's when we start having these experiences of like past life review, where we're looking at our choices and our behaviors, and we're meant to observe them and integrate them, meaning like heal, forgive, release, integrate it more fully into yourself. So a lot of people are doing shadow work at this time, or a lot of people are just looking at their lives and what doesn't work. That's all a form of lightening that load of, so allowing you to move up in energy. You can't take that heavy shit with you. So as you do that, as you just let it go, you ascend in energy, and it begins to feel easier and more cohesive, and like it makes sense. But again, this is the time where it feels like, okay, I just got one. Like I just unpacked a suitcase. That should be good, right? And it's like, no, look, here's some more. And it just keeps coming. So going back to that place where you can reconnect to what is true without you having to do anything. I feel like one of the things that comes up a lot is we're so eager to move through this shit lately that we're willing to put in the work. And it's like, actually, a lot of this stuff doesn't require that heavy lifting on your part. What it requires is for you to actually step back and observe these thoughts. Observe what you're afraid of losing or afraid of, and just acknowledge that's there. And I think in that acknowledgement, you can let it go. So I'm looking at comments right now. Hold on one second. Lately, I've been curious about what it is that is looking out for my highest good. Is it me somewhere else? Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this question. At a higher vibrational level, am I just trying to vibrate higher and higher until I reach myself? Okay, first of all, I love this question, Gina. You are every version of you. One way I love to, and again, this is anytime you can try to put something into words, you've diminished what it truly is. So let's just acknowledge that as soon as we try to name it, it's actually not what it is. But for the sake of trying to understand a concept, you are your higher self. Your higher self is you. Your higher self is a future version of you that has lived many, many, many more lifetimes than just this. Like, this is one point, and this is not even the start. You're like maybe in the middle third, maybe upper third of this of this line of you. All right. And higher self you is the future version of you that's on that last step of ascension, the staircase we talked about. It's at that very last step where it's about to turn back into pure source energy, where it lets go of identity and goes right back into source, like the oneness of energy, right? So when I visualize higher self, I recognize that the higher self not only intimately knows me and loves me, but knows everything about me, including where I came from and where I'm going to. And I feel this great sense of peace and relief knowing that there's another version of me that made it through this life and many, many lives after it and is guiding me, right? And this version of me has no desire to control what I do, because no matter what I do, it's all good. It's already there. It's already at that like 7th step, right? It's about to turn back into pure source. So whatever I do right now, it's all good. It's all at peace with that version, because any choice I'm making right now, ultimately I'm there. So there's nothing I can do to fuck that up, really. However, this life is going to feel better and more supported if I make choices that feel in alignment with that version of me. Does that make sense? So that version of me, highest self, higher you, holds no judgment. It's all good. Whatever you do, it's all love. You did it. You succeeded, actually. That feels so good there. However, from here, to connect to that, I have to make choices that feel in alignment with that. And it feels very different here. So that's what I see. Now here's where it's a real mind effort. As we go up in density, and again, a density is at the rate at which consciousness vibrates. So the higher the being, the higher the density. So the higher self of you it's like a 6th density being about to turn into 7th density. That's like the highest, and it's at the highest level of 6. So I know that's like what? Very, very high vibrational, almost pure source. As we go up in densities, we become multiple beings. So I want you to start seeing it instead of as a line of one person. I want you to see it as almost like a funnel. And as you go from this moment of awareness up in your density, there's more people in it. So we become multi-beings. And this is what's known as a, what do they call this? We become a memory complex. But there's another way of saying that. It's just not in my conscious mind right now. Social memory complex, that's what we become. These social memory complexes where we are multi-beings. And this is where we start to recognize each other energetically right now. So when you meet someone, you're like, I just get you. You make so much sense to me, and I feel like we're related. You've all had this experience. I get you. I feel like we're related. Like we're from the same tribe. Like we're, what do they say about brothers from another mother? That one, right? We all have that feeling. We meet people, we're like, oh, yay, you're my people. That's because actually you are in a ring together of being. You are part of a complex, a soul complex, where you very much resonate with that person, because at one level of consciousness, you're actually a multi-person with them. Aw, thank you. I love that. Thank you, Courtney. Mwah. Yeah. So when you feel that, it's because you're sharing a ring. And then, but here's where it gets crazier, and this is where oneness comes in, right? Because you go up another level, bigger ring, more people. At one point, you hit an ultimate ring, right? Where it includes the all-inclusive. So here's the question I have from you, sisters from another mister. There you go. If the ultimate ring right before, and this is where we become pure source, the last step and the ultimate ring includes everyone, then is our higher self the same higher self for everyone? I have to pause for you. Pause for effect. Plot twist. Like, right? Like, that one's gonna go... Because at one point, I definitely feel like, no, I want my own higher self. Like, I want to have, like, my BFF, like, personal landline, right? Like, this is me. This is, like, me and me thing. But if that's how it works, that every time we expand in consciousness, we attain more peeps in our ring, at the ultimate level, wouldn't we all kind of be up there? And then the real mind, there's another level of mind effort, which is we're all one. What if we're one being having a multi-level experience where we're just keep running into ourselves? And each one of us is a fractal that represents an aspect of the full self. This is where the brain starts to like bend spoons, just trying to answer these questions. So the answer is there is no right answer. There is every answer. Because again, there's multiple perspectives. And if we are representatives of the source, right? And the source is a multi-perspective being, every single perspective is right. So the one who needs the one-on-one connection, you got it. The one who needs to be like connected to the everything, you got it. The one that wants to experience total isolation, sure, go for it. Like, knock yourself out. Because, and that's not to dismiss any one perspective, it's to say all perspectives are valid. And this is where the mind really is trying to get to right now within a conscious experience. Because as soon as we go back to that pure energy place, we get it. It's here where the mind, the conscious mind, and the ego struggle with this idea that there is one right answer. And the universe is like, it's all valid. Because it's all an aspect of a higher, bigger, universal conglomerate that's happening. So I hope you ate dinner already, if it's dinner time, because that might make your stomach just go like, like it just, what? Yeah. That's the whole point of like contemplation, mindfulness, and meditation is to not try to get an answer, but to acknowledge that you are getting an answer. Why is that answer not sufficient, right? Like, why does that answer not resonate with you? And to sit with that and go, what is it I'm actually trying to experience here, right? Okay, before I lose everybody from just turning your noodles, let's do karma cards. Let's just segue into karma cards. So here we go. So this reading is for now through the new moon, which is happening on Friday in Aquarius. I feel like when the moon moves into Aquarius, this whole conversation might take on a whole new meaning for all of us. We might go, oh yeah, I get that. Because Aquarius, I love Aquarius. They're the visionary thinkers of the zodiac, and they're the freak flags of, like, they've let their freak flag fly, and they love this kind of talk because it is it's cosmic consciousness talk is what we were just doing. And that's all Aquarius is all about. Cosmic consciousness talk. They're like, let's do it. Okay. So to play karma cards, we've got 3 decks: planets, signs of the zodiac, houses of astrology. You choose what works best for you by choosing red for action or blue for outcome. And remember, I have both answers here on the cards. And then, of course, people who want both, they're like, I want to know what to do, and then I want to know how it turns out over the next couple of days. So we're looking at end of today through Friday when the moon shifts. That's what we're looking at right now. So if you want action, type in red. If you want outcome, type in blue. And if you want both, you can type in both. Some people type in purple. I totally get what you mean. And while you're thinking about that, just tune in. Just be like, let it come, red or blue or both. While you're typing that in, here's the flavor of this reading. So we have Uranus coming up, ruler of Aquarius, in the sign of Libra, in the 10th house, which is ruled by Capricorn. So we've got the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Capricorn they're both represented in this, so I love that. And then we've got Libra in the middle, which is, you know, the universal balancer. It's the balance point, but it also means this involves other people. It involves how we're relating to other people. Okay, I see some both. I see purple, I see blue. Okay. Also, the 10th house, while you guys are deciding, interestingly enough, it's like the future is one of its aspects. Your career, your public standing, the external world. Those are the areas that, some of the areas that the 10th house rules. Okay, so for those who choose red or action, your spiritual action at this time is to stir up the situation by using relationships responsibly. It's like so interesting. Stir up the situation by using relationships responsibly. I feel like what it's saying right now is the relationship is the mirror. That's a responsible way to use relationships. So going back to the earlier conversation about security, if you're trying to get security from a relationship, perhaps that's not the most responsible way to use the relationship. Rather, change up what's happening in your life by seeing the relationship as a mirror. Remember that one of the universal truths of reality, or this reality, or what we're experiencing, is that everything is mirroring itself. The fractals. So fractal math, when you look at a fractal, what you're seeing is that each piece, each tiny little piece of a fractal is a reflection of the whole. So no matter how small you go down, you'll keep seeing the same pattern, and no matter how big you take it out, you'll see the same pattern. Consider that when you're in the relationship. Look at it as a mirror. What is this showing me about myself, my beliefs, how I view reality? What you see there is being reflected out in a broader sense. Or you can see how you're viewing the external world through your relationship. It works either way, but try using it as a mirror or seeing it as a mirror. That's going to create a shift. Mental action at this time. Be open to new ideas about the beauty of success. Be open to new ideas about the beauty of success. So be open to new ideas, again, Aquarius, Uranus, visionary thinking, the beauty of success. That one's really stumping me. I have to say, the beauty of success feels like... I kind of feel like when it comes to success, at least for me, maybe this applies to you, I definitely have a limited view. I don't see everything because I'm looking for something specific, right? I'm keyed in. I'm like, I'll know when success happens because I'll get blank. Or people will do blank, right? And that means success. When I'm working with other people, like when I'm working with them in the mentoring program, one of the things we look at is, what are you measuring that by? Because that's usually where the pain is coming from, is I've limited, or you're limiting yourself on what that is. A successful relationship, specifically, what does that look like? We all have ideas about what we think that looks like. And it's very limited. And if you don't meet that marker, are you successful? Or a successful job? Or, successfully pursuing your passion? What does that look like? You already have an idea. And we're pretty sure we're right because we're looking for examples of that. That's what we're basing it on. But what we're not taking into account most of the time is one huge key differentiating factor, which is you. You're the variable that creates a whole different outcome. And we never take that into account usually because we're so busy looking for what that other person got that I want, right? So be open to new ideas about the beauty of success. Okay, physical action at this time. Invent a way to do it with your partners and become a person of power and status. So again, that last part, become a person of power and status, can be very triggering, especially based on what we have looked at as power and status. Another way to say power and status is what empowers you, what makes you feel powerful internally. And status could be another way to see vibration as well. Invent a way to do it. So how can you bring people with you to feel empowered and higher vibrational? How do you do that? If you have ideas, you can pop them in the chat. How do you bring people with you to feel more powerful or empowered and a higher vibrational or a higher status? The first thing that comes to mind for me, you lead by example. Right? We're instead of trying to get people to see you a certain way, you practice seeing yourself that way. And when you see yourself that way, you act differently and you treat people differently. And when you treat people differently, their response to you changes, right? So it's by example. I feel that's the way. Okay, but still take that in, let it absorb, let it come in for you as it's designed to do. For those who are choosing outcomes or blue, all right, these are your answers for blue for Uranus in Libra in the 10th house. Awesome. Your spiritual outcome at this time is an unusual example of cooperation to perfect your destiny. Love that. An unusual example is coming of cooperation to perfect your destiny. This feels very tied into what we were talking about with the higher self connection. Here's the deal. To get something different, you have to do something different. We all know that, right? Like if you want something different to happen in your life, you have to do something different. And this is coming, especially for those who consciously take the action. You will get that. Cooperation to perfect your destiny. If you go back to that idea of the higher self being this ring of people all connected, that destiny is we're all connected. And by the way, little segue for a second, we are a collective consciousness. We know this. We're practicing this more consciously all the time. For example, when we meditate together or pray together, and we watch the power of our combined intention make change in the world. We are starting to really get it, that we are a unit. We're like these individual cells of a bigger unit moving and intending change. When we get this, we understand cooperation to perfect your destiny. We are destined as a group as well. Like a lot of times when I talk about destiny with people or we think about destiny, we're thinking individual destiny. And we have that, and we have a collective destiny as well that we're constantly moving towards. And it's continuing to take shape and it's starting to have a more magnetic charge to it. The more we become aware that we're interconnected as a unit, the more we start to operate from that level, the more powerful the movements of change happen. And it can be a very beautiful and uplifting thing that empowers everybody. The mental outcome at this time is a different way of looking at decisions about where you're going. A different way of looking at decisions about where you're going. So remember, the 10th house, one of the things it talks about is the future and the destiny and the external world. Decisions about where you're going. When you start to look for different things that mark your success or mark your destiny, or even the fact that that destiny is not a one floor building, but a multiple floored building, wow, you start to experience life differently. You start to make new decisions that consider all the other levels that maybe you weren't looking at, or all the other markers you weren't noticing. You'll start to make decisions differently. And because of that, mental expansion. And that's the time we're in right now. We're moving more into that period of like, I see it differently. Physical outcome at this time, an unexpected change resulting from the fairness shown by your career. So an unexpected change resulting from the fairness shown by your career. The word career here, remember, it means the thing that you're doing in the outside world that you're passionate about. I think that we get the word career tied up sometimes with, there's different levels, right? A vocation is something you do for money. A profession is something you make money at and you're good at. And a career is where you are passionate about what you're good at making money about. And then purpose is what you're, this is where passion lives. This is where you feel like you're constantly being pulled to. And they're not always the same thing. So let's go back to career again. Career is the level where there's passion, there is talent or ability or skill, and there's an ability to sustain it, right? Meaning that you can make money from it or take care of yourself from that place. So there's going to be an unexpected change resulting in the fairness around that. For those who are on that path right now where career is a focus for you, what this message here is saying is you really do need to adjust your statistics of what success is. Like, look at it. Really look at what you are giving yourself credit for being successful at. Because if there's only a few markers, man, you could be hitting so many other points where you are making an impact and a change, but you are not acknowledging it and about to give up because that one marker hasn't been hit yet. So take a look at that, because doing this little bit of work of awareness around what you think success is for you and starting to consider the variable that is you could definitely knock the whole thing wide open. It could be that one thought that's blocking you from being able to feel truly effective at what you're doing. And for those who are like, I don't have that, or I don't want that, you can take the word career and you could put outward expression in place, and it would say an unexpected change resulting from the fairness shown by your outward expression. Hear that and see what that does for you. Fairness from your outward expression. When you start recognizing that, for example, let's take that security bit. I feel like it's a really strong focus for a lot of people right now. When you stop expecting something external to give you a feeling of security, and you start realizing that the only way you can get that feeling of security is to identify that it's a feeling state, and you have 100% control over that. You know the movie V for Vendetta? If you haven't seen that, watch it. It was out years and years ago, but it makes such a great point to this very topic we're talking about regarding internal security. Without trying to spoil that movie, everything gets stripped away from one of the characters to prove a point that if you have this internal conviction, if you believe you are free, no one can take your freedom. If you believe you're secure, that can't be taken from you. These are feeling states. And I feel like that movie addresses it really well. You can't, I can identify that security is an internal state, that can't be taken from you. And therefore you can't really ever lose. You can lose things, you can lose relationships, things can change, but nothing can take that from you because it's inner directed, it's inner guided. And this is what it meant when my team said to me in 2016, you need to plant your idea of security on the internal plane. And they showed me this tree that they were like, plant that internally and root it deep. So I'm going to leave you with that. I know it's esoteric and it's not an answer, but it is a feeling, right? There's a couple different ways. Again, I have that YouTube video that kind of guides you through these thoughts of these are the things that are happening, whether you will it or not. And that's another way to get into that feeling state. So that's it for you. If you want to join me for the new moon spirit circle coming up, it's this Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You have a way to do that. I think there's a link in the title, wherever that is. I'm not sure. you can click that link. You can join us for the next circle. It is a live circle where I take you through guided meditations. Really powerful things come out. There's a recording. You get to keep it forever. And we do live psychic Q&A at the end where I will answer your questions with my psychic spidey skills. If you're interested in that, click the links or leave a comment. I'll make sure that you find that link. And thank you so much for coming and joining me here. You guys are fantastic. And so many of you stayed even after I tried to break your brain. You still stayed with me. Mwah! All right. I love you so much. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. I hope you feel the benefits of this conversation and that it brought you peace, joy, and love. Oh, thank you. Mwah. Good night.